iPhone.
In the year 2019, we do so much with our iPhones. 12 years ago, however, things were very different. New features Apple would introduce over the course of the next 12 years would redefine the way that we looked at the smartphone.
Now, software on mobile phones is like baby software. It's not so powerful. And today, we're going to show you a software breakthrough. Software that's at least 5 years ahead of what's on any other phone. Our new software
is iPhone OS 3.0,
OS 4,
iOS 5, iOS 6,
iOS 7,
8, 9, 10,
11. You guessed it, iOS 12.
In 2007, when Steve Jobs took that stage for the very first time to introduce Apple's foray into the phone industry, the world suddenly had changed. Phone, photos, calendar, SMS texting, mail, Safari, Google Maps, and widgets were the biggest features to tout on the iPhone at that point. There's a lot of things missing. Here are some of the top 10 things that weren't always a part of iOS that today we wouldn't be able to live without.
Spotlight.
Number 10, Spotlight Search, iPhone OS 3. iOS without the ability to search for an app that you can't find? You have that one app that you thought was really useful, but you stowed it away in a folder and now you can't remember where it is. Well, without Spotlight Search, you wouldn't be able to find that app.
Epic.
Oh yeah, also, remember when Apple started a trend?
We're seeing Epic's upcoming multiplayer title, Fortnite.
Crazy how this was back in WWDC of 2015. I just thought this was funny. This has nothing to do with the list. Guess Apple can predict the future. Wow, what the f***?
Interactive notifications.
Number 9. Interactive notifications, quick reply for text messages, iOS 8.
If you get a message like this, just pull down and you can reply from right where you are.
So interactive notifications was a huge feature on iOS 8. Obviously, the name interactive notifications would imply that it's not just for messages, you also can do it for any of your other notifications that support it. Oh yeah, also, giant oversight that year for Apple. They decided in the multitasking view they were going to make use of that extra space and put your contacts at the top. They wound up dropping the idea a year later in iOS 9. Not such a great idea in retrospect, maybe?
multitasking.
Number 8. Multitasking, iOS 4. When iPhone users hear the word multitasking, this is typically what they think of.
Double-click the home button, and the window raises up and it shows me all the apps that are running. These are all the apps that are running, and I want to go back to mail, and I go right back to where I left it.
A world without multitasking. A world without being able to go back to the app that you were just in. A world without having to go into the app switcher and clear out all of the apps. In all seriousness though, could you imagine that? Whether in the small view in its infancy in iOS 4.
Let's talk about multitasking. Now, you can double-click, just swipe between your running applications.
Or the elegant new redesigned app switcher on iOS 7 and above. We've gotten so accustomed to being able to, for example,
Playing music in the background or receiving a voice over IP call.
Without the multitasking feature, the iPhone would be very limited in functionality. Throughout this video, you might be confused as to why I'm talking about some iOS versions like it's called iPhone OS. Well, that's because before iOS 4, it was called iPhone OS. Apple that year decided to rename iPhone OS.
We're going to rename it. We're going to take away the phone because it's on iPads and iPod Touches and iPhones. So we're going to rename it iOS, and this is the 4th version.
This next feature is a great one.
Number 7. Find My iPhone, iPhone OS 3.
You can send a message with your home phone and have it play a sound. This alert sound plays whether or not you left it in silent mode. You can walk around your house until you realize the kids hid it underneath the couch.
Okay, let's face it, we've all been there. Your phone's in your house, you have no idea where it is. Without Find My iPhone being a thing, you wouldn't be able to find your iPhone.
A new messaging service between all iOS 5 customers, and we call it iMessage.
Number 6. iMessage and FaceTime, iOS 5 and iOS 4.
So iMessage supports the iPhone, the iPad, and the iPod Touch. The 3 dots in the balloon, that lets me know he's currently responding.
SMS texting had been around before iMessage, but iMessage was different. You could continue conversations on multiple devices. It just worked. It had that magical Apple ecosystem style that eventually we'd get hooked on.
iPhone 4. So I'm going to go ahead and call Johnny now.
With the introduction of the iPhone 4, Steve demoed something that no one was expecting.
Hey, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm good.
We call this FaceTime. FaceTime video calling.
Apple was not the first to create a video calling solution. Companies like Skype were at this for a long time. However, the integration into iOS was just so well done that users were able to pick between a stock solution or a third-party solution. But being a FaceTime user did have its perks.
There is no setup required. You don't have to find a server. You don't have to type in anything. You don't need a special code. You don't need a buddy list. Nothing. You just make a phone call.
The fact that you could just open this phone out of the box and make a video call without any extra setup required is really what pushed Apple's FaceTime. iMessage and FaceTime alone have been powerful enough to sway people into the Apple ecosystem and keeps Apple their user base. Once users try iMessage and FaceTime for the very first time, it's hard to make that switch back to something else just because of how perfect and integrated these features are and how accustomed society has become with both of these features. And now,
FaceTime is going to take a big leap forward because today we're introducing Group FaceTime.
With iOS 12.1 and the introduction of Group FaceTime, people will continue coming back to iOS for these unique experiences. And these two features alone, I can't imagine living without. Okay, so apparently the kid that reported this bug reported it to Apple over a week before this even happened. And guess what he was playing?
Fortnite.
I know, kind of ironic, right?
We brought in Epic.
Number 5, emoji. Emoji is a cultural phenomenon at this point. It helps us convey the emotions we're feeling through text messages. Everywhere you look, you'll see emoji. Backpacks, pillows, phone cases, t-shirts. Oh, yeah, and that one time there was even a movie based off these things.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Anyway, emojis weren't even originally supposed to have this global success. Back in 2008, originally on iPhone OS 2.2, emoji was an exclusive feature to Japan. However, though, at the same time, emojis actually date back to around 1999, where they were created in Japan well before it was a commercial success globally. Apple saw how rapidly emoji was growing in Japan and made a decision that would soon change everything. In 2011, Apple released iOS 5 with emojis rolling out globally for everyone to enjoy. Recently, with Apple's stock prices steadily declining and their iPhone sales steadily declining as well, people have been pretty quick to criticize Apple and speak all doom and gloom about the future of the company. But had it not been for this one single choice of bringing out emoji globally, conversations online would look very different than they do today. Things in iOS are very different now than they used to be. And what you're seeing right now is a prime example of that. This is called Memoji. There's also Animoji as well. So you could be a monkey, a fox. I mean, this was a big selling point to the iPhone X. For $1,000, you could get talking emojis. Yeah. We're now at the point that emojis are so popular that if you want a talking emoji and you're willing to pay $1,000 for it, you can get the iPhone X and above.
Control Center.
Number 4, quick access to system controls, Control Center, iOS 7.
You have those switches that you just want to get to really quickly from wherever you are. Swipe up from the bottom of the device, and there they are.
For the very first time, Apple finally had a way to access system-level controls. With just a simple swipe of your finger, you were able to control the brightness, volume, and other useful things as well. Apple, of course, was not the first to introduce this type of easy access feature for different toggles like the Wi-Fi and brightness, but their implementation was pretty well received.
Swipe up from the bottom of my display, and up comes Control Center. I can turn on and off Do Not Disturb, for instance, access my brightness, can even access a flashlight, really useful at night, play a song.
Alright, imagine this for a second. If you wanted to change the brightness of your phone, each time you do it, you'd have to go into settings and change it that way. Could you imagine that? Before Control Center, if you wanted to change your brightness, you had to go into settings to do it. And if you wanted a flashlight, well, forget about it. You had to download an entirely different app. Personally, I don't think I would be able to live without Control Center. It's just so convenient now that it's crazy to think there was a time in iOS where none of this was actually even possible. You had to go into the settings every time you wanted to change the smallest of things on your phone.
Cut, copy, and paste.
Number 3. Cut, copy, and paste iPhone OS 3.
We are bringing a nice, simple, beautiful touch-based interface for cut, copy, and paste to the phone. When you make a selection, you get this nice cut, copy, paste bubble.
What? Cut, copy, and paste was not a part of the original iPhone? That's probably what you're thinking, right? Well, yeah, it wasn't a part of the iPhone originally. For whatever reason, Apple decided to ship the iPhone without cut, copy, and paste. If there was a link that you wanted to send to someone, well, forget actually sending it to someone without having to type out the entire thing. Cut, copy, and paste is one of those essential iPhone features that today we don't even think that much about. This was not even on the iPhone at some point. That's crazy. Can't imagine living without this? Well, the next couple of things on this list, be sure to pay attention to.
The iPhone 3GS. There's a brand new built-in camera. The best thing about this camera is it also captures video.
Number 2, video recording, iPhone 3GS.
A new switch on the bottom right hand that says still or movie. And you flick to what you want to take, press the button, and now rather than capture, it's record, and it's recording video.
Yup, that's right. Something I bet you probably didn't know. The original iPhone didn't have the capability to record video. Well, technically. This was one of the features that was more of a software limitation. Jailbreak tweaks had come out to make iPhones before the iPhone 3GS usable with video recording, but this was the first time where video recording was enabled natively in iOS. But even still, I can't imagine a world where I can't record video on my iPhone. Like, that's crazy to think about, that at some point you were only able to take pictures with your phone. You couldn't actually record a video. Before we get to the number 1 spot, here are a few honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. These features were definitely important, but not as important as the number 1 pick. System-wide redesign. Notification Center. Folders. Over-the-air updates. Custom wallpapers.
The App Store.
Finally, topping off the list at number 1, App Store, iPhone OS 2.
This is an application we've written to deliver apps to the iPhone. And we're going to put it on every single iPhone.
That's right, the original iPhone did not ship with the App Store. Steve explained it simple enough. They wanted to reach every iPhone user.
App Store, it's got the 5 buttons across the bottom.
Apple believed that the future was all apps, and was that an ambitious idea? But wow, it worked. Although I don't open the App Store on my phone to download new apps that often anymore, it is insane to think that for a little while on the iPhone you weren't able to download any apps, like any apps, period. You just couldn't use them if they weren't already on the phone to begin with. In 2019, nowadays, apps are literally everywhere. They're in our phones, they're in our computers, they're in our cars, they're in our TVs, they are everywhere. And miraculously, Apple was at the forefront of this technology. When we as a society look back on the past, a lot has happened, and a lot has changed in our lives. But I am excited to see how far Apple continues to push innovation forward. Hopefully, they actually do it again. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to just give this video a like, and also go ahead and subscribe and turn that post notification bell on. I've worked on this video on and off for months. The finished product is now out, and I couldn't be happier to share it with you guys. Let me know what you guys think of this video down below in the comments. If this is something that you guys enjoy, maybe I'll do more of them. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, this is David signing out. Have a good one, guys.